Welcome back to Blackboard Learn Assessing Learners. In Part 3, we're going to be covering adding questions to a test. Here, we are back on the test canvas. Before we can get started adding questions, let's take a quick peek at the question settings option found on the right side of the test canvas. Question settings are where we can choose to leave feedback for individual answers, add image files or web links to feedback or answers, add categories, topics, levels of difficulty, keywords, and instructor notes to every question. And then we have a section on scoring where we can specify the default points when creating questions. The default value is 10, but feel free to change that to whatever you need. You can also specify partial credit options for answers. You can choose to allow negative point options for answers, and you can also provide an option to assign questions as extra credit. The display options allow you to specify random ordering of answers, the horizontal or vertical display of answers, and the number of options for answers as well. You don't have to change these, but if you need to add images or files, or if you want to change the default value, this is a good place to get it done. Click Submit when you have your settings correct and you're back to the test canvas. Let's add a question. We hover our mouse over the Create Question button and choose a question to add to our test. The calculated formula question requires students to complete a calculation. Enter a title if you choose and add the question text. In the question text, use alphabetic variables with brackets where the numbers should appear in the question. Enter the answer formula using the same alphabetic variables you used in the question. In the Options section, we will define the answer range and variation for the answer. If the correct answer must be exact, the range will be 0. If you want answers to contain a measurement unit, select Units Required, then click Next. We need to specify the minimum and maximum for each variable and specify the decimal places for the answer. The number of answer sets defines the number of possible variation in the question that will be presented to students. Click Calculate to generate the answer sets. You can edit values, recalculate answer sets, and remove answer sets. Because of our question settings, on every question we are able to enter feedback for correct responses and incorrect responses, categories and keywords, and instructor notes for every question. Add these if you so choose, and when you're finished with the question, you can submit and create another, which will create another variety of this question, or you can click Submit to return you back to the test canvas. I will click Submit to see the calculated formula question in the test canvas. In a calculated numeric question, students are presented with a question that requires a numeric answer. This question resembles a fill-in-the-blank question where the correct answer is a number. To create this question, we will enter the question's text. Next, we'll have to specify the answer, and an answer range is available to allow for multiple answers. In this case, it's 2.5 times 8, which equals 20. If you'd like to give a plus or minus range, you can do so here. Add categories and keywords and instructor notes as usual, and click Submit to return to the test canvas. With an either-or question, students are presented with a statement and asked to respond using a selection of predefined two-choice answers, such as yes or no, agree or disagree, right or wrong, true or false. Let's input the question text. Under Options, you can choose if the answer's orientation is vertical or horizontal. Under Answers, click the drop-down arrow to select between those predefined two-choice answer sets. Set the correct answer as appropriate and enter feedback, categories, keywords, notes, and click Submit. An essay question requires students to type their answers into a text box. When using this question type, Blackboard is unable to automatically grade it. You will need to manually grade these types of questions. Begin by entering the question text, and then you can optionally provide an example of a correct response under Answer. If you'd like to use a rubric to grade this essay, you can attach it underneath Rubrics. Add categories, keywords, and instructor notes as usual, and then click Submit. A useful feature when working on a test is to add a question directly beneath another. You'll see a plus sign when you hover your mouse over a question. If you click Add Question, you can then select your question type. Let's take a look at file response. A file response question requires that students upload a file from their computer or the content collection. Students can create work before a test and submit the file with their submissions, particularly if it requires a large amount of text. This type of question will need to be graded manually. Let's enter the question text, add a rubric if you so choose, categories, keywords, and notes, and then click Submit. A fill-in-the-blank and fill-in-multiple-blank questions are built virtually identical, so I won't demonstrate both. We'll go ahead and check out a fill-in-multiple-blanks question though. With a fill-in-the-blank question, it requires the students to provide the missing word or words for the sentence or paragraph. To leave a blank, you will need to include a bracket with a variable inside of it where the fill-in-the-blank field should appear. Variables must be unique and cannot be reused. I'll input the question text with my variables in place. I can choose to allow partial credit. In this case, I'll click Next, and now we'll define the variables. Variable X is water, and variable Y is boil. You can choose to allow more than one answer for X. Then you can decide if the answer should be an exact match, contains for partial answers, or a pattern match. We will go with exact match, but we won't choose case sensitivity. Set your variables for X and Y and click Next. Here you'll be able to enter your feedback, categories and keywords, and instructor notes. We can then either go back, cancel, submit and create another, or submit to move on to the next question. We are going to have a little bit of fun with our next question, the hotspot. A hotspot question requires the students to select a specific area on an image. First, we need to enter our question text and then upload an image. We can grab one from our content collection, but for today's example, I've got one on my computer. I'll go ahead and select the image. When we click Next, we'll be taken to a preview of the image. Here, we'll click and drag the mouse over an area in the image to specify the hotspot for the correct answer. You can click Clear to remove the hotspot and start again. We want the students to click on Boomer, so I'll select Boomer. Below, we are able to enter our feedback, categories and keywords, and instructor notes, and then click Submit to get back to the test canvas. Now that we are back on the test canvas, we can scroll down and see that our hotspot question is created. If we'd like to add a question, say before our hotspot or maybe directly after, we can use the plus buttons found at the top and bottom of the questions. Click here and we'll insert our next question in the middle between the multiple blanks and the hotspot question. We'll go ahead and move on to the jumbled sentence. A jumbled sentence requires students to complete a sentence by selecting words or phrases from a drop-down list. We will use bracketed variables corresponding to locations in the text where the drop-down list of answers will appear. Variable names must be unique and cannot be reused. First, we will enter our question text and insert variables as necessary. Once our text is in place, we will choose if we want to allow partial credit, and then we can set our answers. Click Next to specify the correct answers by selecting them from each drop-down list. Below, I can enter my feedback, categories and keywords, and instructor notes, then click Submit to return back to the test canvas. Next, we will make a matching question. A matching question allows students to pair items in one column to items in another. First, you'll have to enter the question text. Under Options, you can allow partial credit and choose how to number the question. In this case, we'll leave it as uppercase letters A, B, C. But you can also choose Arabic numerals, Roman numerals, or lowercase letters. Under Questions, you can choose the number of questions, and then in each box you'll find a question and an answer pair. Once you've entered all the questions and answers under Answer Order, you can choose to order the item answers manually or randomly. We'll choose Random. Next, you'll have feedback, categories and keywords, and instructor notes. Then click Submit. A multiple answer question allows the student to pick more than one correct answer choice. Here, we'll enter the question text. We highly recommend that you indicate to the student that they should select all that apply. Under Options, you can choose how to number the answers. If you'd like the answers oriented vertically or horizontally, you can also choose to allow partial credit and choose to show answers in random order. Under Answers, you have the option to change how many answers the students can get. Be sure to mark each answer that is correct with a check mark. Once you have your answer inputted correctly, you can enter feedback, categories and keywords, and instructor notes, and then click Submit. A multiple choice question allows the student to pick the correct answers from several choices. Begin by inputting your question text. Under Options, you can choose how to number the answers. If you'd like the answers oriented vertically or horizontally, you can choose to allow partial credit, and you can also choose to show answers in random order. Next, input your answers. After you have your answers inputted the correct way, enter feedback, categories and keywords, and instructor notes. Then click Submit. An opinion scale or Likert question is typically used in a survey. Opinion scale questions are designed to measure attitudes or reactions using a comparable scale. Users select a multiple choice answer that represents their attitude or reaction. You'll enter the text of the question, then under Options you'll have the same choices. You can decide how your answers are numbered, oriented, choice of partial credit, and to show your answers in random order. The default number of answers is 6. The answers are set with strongly agree, agree, neither agree or disagree, disagree, and strongly disagree. Change these the way you see fit and enter any feedback, categories and keywords, and instructor notes. Then click Submit. An ordering question requires the students to put a series of items in a correct order. You don't have to use a variable when creating this question. Begin by entering the question text. Next, set your options and enter your answers. Once your answers are entered, click Next. Now you'll determine the correct order in which the answer should appear. The display order is the position the students will see their question in. You can mix that up however you'd like. Enter feedback, categories and keywords, and instructor notes, and then click Submit. The next question is a quiz bowl question. A quiz bowl question is similar to Jeopardy! They must respond with a question. You'll put the answer in the question text, and the students will be required to respond to the answer in the form of a question. It's best that the students are prepared ahead of time with what to expect with this type of question. Under Options, you can allow partial credit. Under Interrogatives, you'll enter one or more interrogative that must be included in the answer to indicate that the answer is in the form of a question. You can specify several answer phrases. In this case, we will need just one. Enter any feedback, categories and keywords, and instructor notes, and then click Submit. Short answer questions are similar to essay questions. Student responses aren't limited in length, but the number of rows you can set for the text box helps students to know the expectations. The maximum number of rows is 6. Enter your question text and select the number of rows to be displayed. Next, you can choose to enter an example response and include a rubric if you'd like. Enter categories and keywords, instructor notes, and then click Submit. Last but not least, we have the true-false question. A true-false question allows the students to choose true or false in response to a statement or question. Enter your question text. From here, you can choose whether or not the answers are oriented vertically or horizontally, and determine if the answer is true or false. Enter feedback, keywords, and instructor notes if you like, and then click Submit. We've successfully built our test. A couple of housekeeping things before we wrap up this video. First of all, you'll notice at the top of the test canvas that we have 16 questions in this test for a total of 160 points. If we want to change the amount of points that are available in this test, we can click the box to select all and enter a new point value for each question. They are initially worth 10 points. Let's make them all worth 5. Click Update. We can see that the test is now only worth 80 points. If we want to make a specific question into an extra credit question, you can navigate to the question and click on the points box. From here, you can choose extra credit and click Submit. You will notice again in the box below the test canvas that you now have the same amount of questions but 5 less points, as this question is now extra credit. That's it for Part 3. Join us in Part 4 to explore pools, deploy and grade tests, and more. See you soon!